Hello, how are y'all doing today? Here today, I'm with Mr. Deshmukh, who is an electrical engineer who works for DNVGL. How are you doing here today, Mr. Deshmukh?
Doing very well, Gautam. Thank you.
Yes. Let's get right into the questions. How did you initially get into this field?
My father is an electrical engineer as well, and I watched him. Growing up, I watched him, do his electrical engineering and design, and all the industries that he used to visit. When I didn't understand it as much when I was growing up, but as soon as I got to high school and start when the time came for me to choose my career, I thought I would be well served if I chose electrical engineering as my career. And so I chose that in Mumbai University. I graduated from Mumbai University as an electrical engineer.
So, you said you graduated from Mumbai University with your electrical engineering degree. How would you say some influence that led you to go into electrical engineering, other than obviously your influence of your father in this decision?
Sure. And during my high school as well, I quite enjoyed the topics that were around electrical engineering, and well, in our physics, and we had a lot of topics around that, and I thought that work would work out well for me. So that was another
Right,
influencing factor.
right. And how would you say, what are some key skills that a person being an electrical engineer would need to be successful in it?
Sure. In general, for any career, you need diligence, you need persistence, hard work. So that is one factor of it, and finally, the other factor is luck. Essentially, as long as both of these click, a person can be very successful. But luck is not something that's within our hands, but the other things are. So persistence, hard work, and steady and objective, an aim or a goal in mind. Okay, this is what I want to be in next 10 years, and this is what I want to be in next 20 years or so. So that would bring about um, a, a direction in your mind, particularly in terms of electrical engineering. If you ask me, uh, what would make you successful would be, again, all of these factors, and a liking for the math, or for the areas, that that in general, engineering, for engineering, you have to have a good handle on math and electrical skills.
Right.
So that's something that would be helpful.
How would you say, like straight out of college in Mumbai, going into Northeastern, what is like different facets? Because like obviously schooling is in India is different, and schooling at Northeastern University would be different. What would you say that some key differences were?
Sure. Um, in general, I thought my bachelor's degree was pretty difficult in India. We have a comprehensive curriculum, and we have to go through quite a lot of courses to essentially graduate from the university. And I think it is much tougher. I thought relatively masters was easier, and in the sense of the curriculum, but when it comes to doing something new, or doing something challenging on your own, finding your own topics to study, that was something that I found was different, was a little challenging as well. I think mainly, when it comes to topics for your thesis or for your projects, or for the assignments, the way they are given out in your bachelor's versus in your master's, um, they are phrased differently. They challenge you at the core, your core concepts. So I thought that was different between bachelor's and master's.
Right. And getting out of Northeastern after you had completed your masters, what do you say some key skills that you had to develop like on the job, like that they didn't really teach you in college per se?
Oh yeah, sure. Um, I think for anybody who graduates, it's a good thing to have a mentor. I was lucky enough to have a really good mentor from the beginning. In general, well, not related to the coursework. In general, skills around Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Power BI, and any other tools that are used on a daily basis at your work would be really good skills to have. Also, programming, a little bit of programming helps, and nowadays it's doesn't matter which fields you go into. These are some of the must-have skills for you to succeed.
Right, right,
Now, other than the software or the tools, i- overall, there should be an understanding of the topic, and choosing the right career is important in the sense, once you chose your engineering career or you chose your electrical engineering, even after that, okay, do I go into semiconductors or do I go into power systems? Do I go into, there's a uh, vast array of career paths that you can choose. And in part, it depends on your liking, on what you want to be. For me, I had chosen power systems from the beginning, so it was kind of set for me
right.
that I'm gonna go into this field.
Mm-hmm. So, what would you say a normal day as a person who is in a power system, who is in power systems, and looks like?
Sure. In the beginning of the career, when you're learning, it's more or less doing certain studies that impact the entire grid. Those are the ones that you would be doing. Now, there are multiple studies in that as well. There's steady state analysis or transient studies or economic studies for the grid. That would be, if something is feasible or not. Basically, more or less, an analyst who analyzes the data that's coming in, does some modifications to the systems, and then gets the output and then analyzes the output, makes sure that both the input and the output are correct and is what is expected. Those are the kinds of things you would expect at the beginning in the career, and eventually as you grow, and then yeah, you would have to have some kind of a knowledge and become a subject matter expert in your field, and then so that then you can guide junior or young engineers to do the same.
Right, right. And all that is like on a normal day. This is without coronavirus being a factor. So, how would you say right now in the current climate and conditions has your job really changed?
Not really, actually. Most of my job being desk job, I didn't have to be on site for anything. So in the sense of being able to do my work properly, nothing's changed much.
Mm,
Now, what has changed is interaction with colleagues, and that does get affected because you're not sure if somebody's available, if somebody's not available, if somebody's on a call with
right,
someone else. Those are the kind of things that are challenging. Also, the NVGL being an international company, and even in US having more than 50 locations, some people are working from different locations. Now you have to bear in mind that they are in different time zones, or they are in different uh, which again, would have been the case previously as well, but at least majority of your team would be with you, and the coordination and the communication was easier.
right,
Other than that, I think most of it uh, hasn't been any different for me.
right. And it hasn't been different for you because obviously you've been in this field for a lot of years, your experience. So how would you say a person who is new to this field, how would their job look like? Would it be similar to yours?
Yeah, so that is a bit of a challenge in terms of training new employees and having them getting fully on board. Fortunately for us, over a period of time, we had developed initiatives to create training videos for new joinees.
Mm,
And that was not because of the coronavirus. This has been going on for last couple of years now. And fortunately, those videos, in different fields, even, so I work in a particular field in energy economics, but then even in the other sections of our department, we had multiple training videos. So for any new joinee, we would lay out a plan and say, okay, these are the ones that we need to have the person trained as soon as possible, and then these later on, maybe they can get trained on these other ones, and then we just ask them to brush up on their concepts and watch the videos, on how to do the stuff. Now they might already know how to do certain stuff, but how to do it our way, like how we do it
right.
internally in house. So that kind of helped quite a bit. So in training new personnel. So we just had a few people join this year, even during the coronavirus pandemic, and the transition was pretty smooth.
That's nice. That's always nice to hear. And how would you say, as you was mentioning before, that coronavirus hasn't really affected your lifestyle, at least going to work, because of you get to work from home when you need to. So how would you say a work-life balance looks like? Because it seems good because you're able to stay at home when you need to and able to go when you have to.
Right. So in terms of work-life balance, the borders are a little blurred. I definitely admit that. It previously was, you go there at 9, and at 6 o'clock or so you're done. You come back home, and then you may or may not have work, depending, because I'm in a consulting field. So we're even after coming home, you sometimes have to answer other questions that arise. So it was there before as well, but now it's even more blurred,
Hmm.
because you wake up, you have tea, coffee, and then you get right to work, and then you're working, and then it's evening, and you really don't know, whether how long you've been working or how long you still need to keep working.
Right,
Um, uh, so there's no definite demarcation of the time
right.
that you're working. Um, it is a challenging, and people are getting used to it, I think.
Hmm.
So people want to respect everybody's times, but then still situations come arise that they have to call you at odd times.
Right, right. And that's always like challenging to like wake up in the middle of the night and just receive a call like, oh, you have to be on call right now. But, like, I'll come in
Right.
15 minutes.
Right.
Yeah. How would you say how, like for a new person coming into this field, how financially rewarding would this field be?
um, in terms of financially rewarding, I can compare to similar fields. I would say that comparing to similar fields, you would think IT or computers or overall, nowadays AI, are pretty lucrative fields, and they have more glamour to them as well.
Hmm.
In terms of power systems, it's a pretty old and pretty well settled field. So it's slower to develop, but as well as it has a bit of its own challenges. So it's not as lucrative, I would say, as some of the other fields, but it's still
Right,
reasonable.
right. And as the world is getting more advanced, we can see there's obviously IT industry is growing, while some other industries may be falling. So how would you say that electrical industry is faring so far, or so currently?
Could you rephrase that? What when you say
So like
overall?
Yeah, overall, like, is it creating more jobs or is it losing some jobs?
Okay. Um, I think there have been a lot of jobs that are being affected because of the pandemic. Some of them might come back, as the pandemic is over, because people have put a lot of spending on hold, and as soon as companies started to realize that we can't survive by putting all of this spending on hold, they started to ease into it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and that's caused some delays in the hiring processes, and then there were a lot of layoffs because they didn't have enough work for people,
Right, right.
and so many of the industries have gotten affected because of that, and it's a cascading effect as well. So if one industry gets affected,
Another
another
industry.
industry that is dependent on that, it gets affected, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So there has been a cascading effect of that as well. Um, in power, again, I just like I said, it's a slower field, so it's also a slower field to react.
Right.
So our plans or visions are longer term.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also a slower field to react. So we didn't see as many layoffs. In fact, we were still hiring. So we
Cool.
hired two people even during the
I know.
pandemic. So even though we had seven positions are open as of last end of the last year, right before the pandemic began, we had to cut it down to two or three,
Oh,
but we still,
had
and
open.
that's just within our department, not within the entire company.
Mm-hmm.
um, so yeah, so we still, we saw that we had to cut it down, but we still were hiring, not laying off.
Right, right. And what would you say are like some industries like that you work with like regularly? Like, do you work with people like mechanical engineers, IT professionals? Like, which one do you like really get into like on a daily basis?
Like people from other
Yeah.
fields.
Mm-hmm.
um, Actually, most of us that work here, they are all electrical engineers. So again, our department is that way.
Right, right.
We do work with other engineers in the company that are either civil or mechanical, and they have to go on site, or
Right,
also, they are also in the energy background, but then some of them do like inspections on site, like wind turbines or solar panels, the installations themselves. So they are from different fields. So we sometimes work with them as well.
right, right. And your company you work for is DNVGL, right? It's an international
Yes,
company. It's a big company.
yes.
And would you say, would you, if the company has any, would you say if the company has any internship or high school volunteering opportunities?
We have tried, yes, we have tried it, not for high school level, but we had tried it for like right after bachelor's or in the final year of bachelor's. We have tried that.
Mm-hmm.
We also had an intern last year who then joined us full time.
Okay.
She was in master's program, but then was doing internship with us and then joined us full time right after graduation. So yes, we've had that from time to time, and again, it depends on the need, and at times, whatever uh,
Right.
is required. But yeah,
You have had it.
that is a opportunity. Yes, possibility. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And how would you say a high school student can currently like get involved in your line of work? Because like it seems like it's a really tough job. You need to have many skill sets. And like how would you give advice to high school students saying, oh, you might need to work on certain areas to better your game, per se?
Yeah. Um, and again, for a general um, skill, I can talk about general skills, essentially developing on the programming skills, the software skills, the skills on like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and Power BI. these are some of the tools that people use on a daily basis, on a day-to-day basis, regardless of which field they are in. um, and these are really important. They not only not only is it um, Excel or others, these are very very powerful tools. So they can help quite a bit. And also uh, particularly for electrical, I mean, it again depends on what choice of field you're going to do. So yeah, I can't say in particular, okay, what would you need.
Right,
But yeah, I mean, the, the general skills would help go a long way.
right, right. Last and finally, do you recommend like high school students or even college students who may see this read like certain books to gain knowledge and like perspectives on how to like operate as an electrical engineer?
Um, sure. So there are two things. One is, there are certain fields within electrical engineering that do not require you to be an electrical engineer per se, but that of course helps. Engineer as has a different definition when you call yourself an engineer in a state. It comes with licensing, a certification that you have to call yourself an engineer and have an engineering stamp. In Texas, you can get it from the Texas Board of Professional Engineers, so that's called a professional engineer. And for that kind of a work, an engineering type work, um, which includes design or development of something, those that work has connotation of, you would have to stamp the work, and you have to know about all of that.
Hmm.
I am a professional engineer as well, from state of Michigan. And so I'm licensed in Michigan.
Right,
But I do not do on a daily basis. I do not do engineering kind of work, in the sense I do not design stuff on a daily
right, right,
basis. Now, uh, certain other fields, they will require that those skills, but then certain fields could require only studies or knowledge of the power system. So particularly I can tell you about my field. I work in energy economics, and that requires a background in optimization or linear algebra. So those are the two
right,
things that would be required, um, basically to excel in that field. So it's called operations research or optimization, linear algebra. Those kinds of um, fields will be required, to excel in that. And it works more on the feasibility of having a planning grid, like feasibility of having planning for a better grid, better electrical grid. So that's what would be required in those.
right, right. And yeah, that sums up all of my questions here today. Thank you for being here today, Mr. Deshmukh. It was a delight having you. If you have
It
any,
was really nice
oh yeah,
to respond to all your questions.
thank you, thank you. And if you have any questions, just shoot me an email. I can hopefully try and answer them, or I'll ask Mr. Deshmukh. Thank you, and see you.